Hello and welcome back for another resilience session with me, Polly Brennan. So we're going to think a little bit more about actions you can take in order to control resilience. We've talked a little bit about what resilience means. We talked a wee bit about what the resilience might look like for you. We talked about sliding up and down the scale and actions you can take. So we're going to think a little bit more about being proactive and prehabilitative around your resilience. Now, life naturally throws missiles our way. It throws us curveballs, difficult events, unexpected changes, things that we might not perceive or expect, and things that we do know that are coming, things that maybe aren't in our control and that we have to tackle and deal with. So life throws these things our way and sometimes we just can't do anything about it, and what we have to do at these times is missile protection. Now, this is the moment where I usually put on my cycle hat to show how I do this. This is the bit where I talk about protecting yourself from the things that you can't influence and really keeping yourself safe from injury or minimising the damage that events might have upon you and how you feel in your life. So what helps you have protection when life throws missiles your way? How do you deal with minimising injury or damage when life gets difficult? That's the first question I have for you. The second thing I want to talk about is change. So sometimes we are faced with circumstances that we have more control over than we realise. So there'll always be circumstances that come up that, we perhaps haven't chosen, and actually we might have the capacity to influence it, but we might not be able to see that. So one question I always encourage people to ask is, what about this situation is in your control? Sometimes we feel powerless, but there are always opportunities to look at where you can influence events and circumstances around you. And even if you can't influence what's happening, can you take part in the process? If change is happening around you, can you get involved and influence it in some way that helps create an outcome that you want? So the first question is also always about asking yourself whether you have any capacity to influence things that are happening around you. So the question is always, what can you change in this situation? And what outcomes would you like to impact if you could create some change? And thirdly, what action can you take right now to make a difference? Okay, let's talk about accepting, because sometimes we're faced with situations that are not in our control. We can't change them. They might be an injustice, or it might just be something that's happening that we just have to tackle and accept. So when we can't change something and its impact on resilience, how do we accept what's happening? And how do we, instead of trying to stress over or tackle things that aren't in our control, how do we accept things? This is the challenge. And I always ask people that I'm coaching, what do you need to accept and let go of in this situation? And draw a line in the sand and step over it and accept that this is not in your control. And I'll also ask, what helps you let go in these situations? How do you park that up? And it's really all about compartmentalising in the situation. Is how do you put that in the bucket or park that away in your file and move forward and not have it impact you? And we'll all have different strategies for doing things like that. I could tell you many stories about different things that clients have done that I've been working with who've had to let go of something and accept something difficult in order for it not to influence them. And sometimes in these occasions we can't control events or circumstances, but what we can learn to do is influence and control our emotions around that. So emotional control and emotional regulation can be very important. We could create a whole video series on just emotional control and managing emotions, because it's something that clients bring a lot to coaching, is dealing with upsets. And with regard to that, I would say that what could be really valuable is taking a mindful approach to our challenges, because sometimes we have to accept things we can't change, deal with the emotions around that, and allow the difficult emotions, knowing that we can't change them, to come and to go. And not trying to stop ourselves feeling how we feel, but just to allow that wave of emotions to be present, but not to cause us significant distress. Allow it to come and go and let it pass, knowing that there are emotions that will reduce over time and won't feel as distressing to us over time, and that we can manage and regulate ourselves around. And finally, I want to talk to you about battening down the hatches, because sometimes when there's a storm on the horizon, when there's difficult circumstances and we can't change or influence them, the most important thing we can do is batten down the hatches. I was camping in a storm recently, and all I could do was literally tie my tent to my car, peg down everything I could, zip up my tent and brace myself for a really tough night. It was wild, but I knew the storm would pass, and I knew I'd be safe, and I knew I'd survive. I just had to see my way through the storm. And sometimes we have to do that in life. We have to see our way through a difficult patch, not being able to change anything other than just bracing ourselves and knowing that difficult times always pass, and that our success rate at surviving difficult days is 100%. So it's Polly Brennan talking to you about resilience, signing over.